Hey guys, thank you to everybody who's jumping in here today. We are so excited to be here today with Gus with Power ISA. As we're heading into these last couple of weeks to months of the year, it's going to be extra important that we're all diving into our CRM, staying in front of as many people, as many clients as we can. And that is everything that Gus has got to present to us today. So, Gus, thank you so much for being here. Go ahead and feel free to take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, April. Welcome everyone. Welcome jumping in. Interesting time of the year. Like April said, we are. For me, there's always markers in the year, right? Around the 4th of July is like the midpoint. You've already done halfway point of the year. And Labor Day for me, right? And we're a week from Labor Day. It's the home stretch. Like it's the beginning of the end of the year, right? And Gus, it's September. What do you mean the end of the year? What I mean is, remember in real estate, everything we do has a 90-day window to take effect. Anything you do lead generation wise, you have to wait 90 days for it to do something, right? So anything you're doing in September is what you're doing at the end of the year. Like that is it, right? So it's the home stretch. You want to make sure you close strong. So that's what this is about. A lot of folks in a few weeks, even though you might think, oh, what do you mean? We're still in the middle of 2025. In about a month, people will be going through their yearly planning exercises for 2026. All right, that's the September and October is planning time because of that 90-day window, right? That I mentioned. So we're about to enter the home stretch of 2025. Thanks, folks, for jumping in. It means you're interested in finding ways to grow, finding ways to to make your business better. Welcome everybody. I see some comments already in here. Hey there, Hector. Hey there, Monica, Julie, Myra. Folks, as we let people in, I'm going to give people a couple minutes to join in because, I know real estate agents, know and love them. I'm one myself. I know, work gets in the way, life gets in the way. Let's give people a couple minutes to jump in. In the meantime, drop a comment and tell us where are you joining us from today. We already have some folks from Julie from Orlando. How's it going, Julie? Monica from lovely California. I just got back from a quick vacation over in Southern California. I love that. Let's see. We've got Myra from Texas. Hey, I used to live in Houston. Go H-Town. So anyone else, drop a comment. Let us know where you're at. Omaha. So April, you're in lovely Omaha. There we go. Love it, love it, love it. Folks, drop a comment. Let us know where you're from while we give people another minute or so to jump in and join the presentation. So if you guys are looking for the webinar on how a virtual ISA can help double your business, you're in the right place. You came to the right place. This is the right spot. If you're looking for another webinar, you got the wrong link. I don't know what's going on. You registered for the wrong one, but you are in the right part. So we've got Virgil from San Antonio. All right. We got Hector from Puerto Rico. All right, Puerto Rico. Love Puerto Rico. I haven't been, but I have a lot of friends from Puerto Rico. And from people that don't know, Puerto Rico has some pretty good food. They do the wildest things with bananas, that I've never seen. Shout out to Puerto Rico and Puerto Rican food. We should have more Puerto Rican restaurants in the U.S. Problem is, a lot of people from Puerto Rico, they move back to Puerto Rico when they retire. Like they should stick around and if I could retire on the beach on a tropical island, I probably would do that too. So shout out to the folks from Puerto Rico. Rosalind from Temecula in Southern California. Ooh, Temecula. That's SoCal wine country. Super hot country too. So love Temecula. Grace from Canada. All right, so we got a good group of folks. A pretty international group of folks here. We got 3 different countries joining us right now. So that's pretty cool. Well, I'm the 4th country. I'm joining you from Mexico today. So I'm in sunny Mexico. I was in Southern California last week. I'm back in Mexico today. Loretta from New York. All right. So we got every corner of the country and a few other countries, covered today. So let's jump into it. I think we got a good group of folks. Let's jump in and make this happen. Want to make sure. Cool. All right. So let's get started with the presentation. So, all right, here we go. Oh, cool. Thanks for that. All right. So like I said, how a virtual ISA can double your business. You're in the right place. If you're looking for that presentation, let's jump right into it. So when I say I want to help you double your business, I think it's always helpful to make that a number a little bit more real. Okay. I want to give you guys a specific goal, right? Because if you're coming to me saying, oh, Gus, I closed 1 transaction last year, doubling your business is not that hard. I don't think you even need an ISA. Okay. To be very honest with you. If you're coming from a team that did 1,000 transactions last year and you want to double your business, okay, an army of ISAs wouldn't be enough. to go from 1,000 to 2,000 transactions. So I want to make this more specific. I want to make it concrete, right? I put a nice round number on a goal. Let's say you want to make an additional $100,000 in GCI. If I could use another 100,000 in GCI. April, I'm not sure if you could too. I think most agents would they'd take another 100,000 in GCI. Most full-time agents in the U.S. make close to that number, and plus minus 20%, right? Most full-time active agents in the U.S. make around that number, somewhere around there, depending on where you are, right? So not the average agent. That's a very different number. I'm saying the average full-time active agent is around that number. So to double their business, they'd have to bring in an additional 100,000 in GCI to make that goal. What does that look like in 2025? Simple math, guys. Simple math. What's the median home price in the country right now? I'm rounding up for some of these numbers because I know the median price isn't exactly, it's a little bit less right now because that's where the market's at. But humor me on this one. Round numbers, big numbers to make this math a little bit easier. Around 400,000, median home price. Average commission, there's no such thing as a standard commission. I'm just taking an average for my area, Seattle, Washington, and I'm looking at that. And this is average GCI from a transaction like that. It's going to be about $10,000, roughly, right? A little bit less, but I'm rounding up to $10,000 per transaction at a 2.5%. And the number of deals you would have to close, median home price, is about 10. Okay. So the problem then becomes, okay, great, that's awesome. How can I add 10 additional transactions to my business, right? That's a much more concrete goal. And if that doesn't exactly double your business because you're closing way more than that, well, that's awesome. It's great. I still think you're going to get a lot of value from this webinar. And for a lot of folks, that are doing less than that, right? Like this is exactly what you should be doing. If you're around that range, most people are around that 10 transaction range. Well, how can you add an additional 10 transactions to make this happen? And for the folks joining us from New York and California, I know that these numbers make absolutely no sense to you guys. You can't even get like a studio apartment, I think, in some parts of LA and New York for 400,000. I get it. Humor me on this one. For you guys, it's even bigger difference. The numbers just get bigger, right? Same principle, same process. The numbers are just way, way, way bigger on the coasts because that's where home values are at there, right? You basically take any median number for the country and triple it, and that's what it looks like on big cities, on the coastal cities. That's where we're at, right? Cool. Here we go. Awesome. So, like I said, I like simplifying, these questions. If you simplify the questions, you can get a lot better, a lot better answer, a lot better, a solution, right? Because if you make it specific to 10 transactions, it becomes much more achievable. Okay, great. Okay, great. I've got that. I understood that. What's the next problem I got to solve, right? The next question you should be asking, right? But we're getting ahead of this, right? Because ISA is going to help you implement this strategy. That's what the ISA is for. But before you hire an ISA, I need you to ask this question because let's say if you were hiring Power ISA today and you wanted to work with us to help you get a great ISA, we'd be asked, this is the first question we would ask. So whether you're working with Power ISA or not, you want to hire someone to help you make calls, this is the question you should be asking. Do you have a lead source that can give you an additional 10 transactions in the next year? Okay. That's a really, really important question. You'd be surprised how few people ask that, right? Like, hey, I want to double my business. Guys, every single time I went through the business planning clinic and the business planning process for the I always wanted to double my business. I can't remember one time I said, oh, I only want to grow 30% next year. I always wanted to grow 100% next year. Okay. That was always the goal. But the question I really should have been asking now that I know more is, do I have a lead source that can give me 10 additional transactions, right? Really important. Let's see. Scale. So this is why it's important to understand it. Do you have what I call a scalable lead source, okay? And this is what I call the 3 pillars of any real estate team, of any real estate business. This is important, okay? For most teams, all of your lead sources, even the large teams, they usually fall into one of 3 buckets. Personal database, your sphere, your SOI, people that already know, like, and trust you, people you know. That's one huge bucket for most agents and most teams. The second bucket is what I call the prospecting, cold calling bucket, right? It's outbound. It's people you haven't met, they don't know you, and you're calling to make something happen. Okay, that's outbound prospecting, cold calling. That's second bucket. Third bucket are internet leads. And that's a big bucket, guys. Everything, from Facebook and the Googles and everything falls in those, right? I want to go over these because you should be asking this question before you even hire an ISA to make sure you're actually on the right track. Let's see. So, personal database. I want to talk about this because it's important. This is the best lead source for new agents. If you're new to the business, this is where you should start. My humble opinion. This is how I started in the business. That's why I was able to close just under 30 transactions my first year, just from a Sphere database. I had a list of 200 people and I worked it to get, 28, 29 deals in my first year, right? You want to know how I did that? That's the other LCA webinar, we did a couple months ago. It's called Database Domination. You should check it out. But that's what this means, right? It's a best new agents should focus on their personal database. It's the highest ROI they're probably going to get, right? High contact, high conversion. People already know I can trust you. The challenge with this lead source, guys, is that it's not very scalable, okay? Typically, if you want to double your business, this is not the way it's going to happen through your personal database. If you have a list of people, let's say it's 100 people, and you're getting referrals from about 15% of them, 13% of them, 16% of them in that range, you're probably not going to get more. That's the max output a personal database can get. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time because it's important. If you're getting 13, 14, 15, 16% referrals, 100 people, which means 16 referrals per year, per calendar year, it's really hard to get more than that. Okay, if you're pushing and pulling, you're probably going to annoy a lot of people. You're probably going to get less if you push people, bother people too much, right? So that's important to understand, because if you're nowhere near that number I just said, okay, then focus on your personal database. You can actually leave this webinar, look at the other webinar first, and then you can come to this one, right? That should be your number one focus. But if you're already there or you're in that range, personal database is not the solution. Okay, it's not a very scalable lead source. Why? Because if you have a list of 500 people that know, like, and trust you throughout your life, in a year, it's going to be very hard to get another 500 people to know, like, and trust you the same way. Okay. Like, it's just not going to happen. It's not very scalable, right? So I'm going to move on to the next one. This is not a great option to double your business. Prospecting, cold calling. Okay. This you can scale up. All right. What do I mean by that? You can increase the amount of deals you close by making more calls. That's what I mean. Okay. It's very hard to get more referrals just by making more calls to the same people. It doesn't work that way. Prospecting, there's more people you haven't talked to. I mean, imagine this in your city, in your town, right? How many people do you know? 500 people, maybe 1,000 people, maybe 2,000 people. How many people don't you know, right? In your town, homeowners, thousands, probably tens of thousands, probably in some areas, probably hundreds of thousands. In the bigger cities, millions of people. Okay. You just don't know them. That's why this is so scalable, right? It sounds simple when you say it that way, right? Yeah, 100%. Cold calling is, and I don't want to say infinitely scalable. That's not true. But for practical purposes, it's almost infinitely scalable, right? Because I with my team, out of Seattle, Washington, we called the entire state with Circle Prospect, every single publicly available number in the whole state. It took us about 2 years to do that. What did we do at the end of those 2 years? We pulled a new list and started over again, right? Because the list changes, guys. People get new phones, people move, people get married, people get divorced, people have kids. I mean, all these things happen, right? So for all intents and purposes, this is almost an infinitely scalable lead source, in my opinion. Okay. When you hire an ISA to help you with cold calling, triple prospecting, the ISA is in a lead generation role. What does that mean? It means they're taking a cold list. When you get a list of like expired listings, or get a list of Frisbo or a circle prospecting list, those aren't leads. And by pretty much any definition, my definition, that's not a lead. That is a cold, flat list of people that have no idea who you are, and you have no idea what their intent is. Okay. You don't know. It's truly unmet. Truly unmet. Okay. That's not very useful. The ISA is going to call through that list and generate confirmed homeowners with confirmed contact information that have desire or motivation to sell. Those three things: confirmed homeowner, confirmed contact information, confirmed desire or interest to sell, is what I call a qualified seller lead. That's their job when they're cold calling for you. They're prospecting for your team. Generate as many qualified seller leads as possible every single day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 a day, right? That's what you want them to do. We call this model shaking the tree. Oh, we have a question. Cool. Oh, that pops up on the screen. I love that. Okay. How do we cold call when we technically still in a state of emergency and the governor has not lived it? Okay, so this is a New York question. Okay. So I'm gonna be super honest with you, Loretta. I'm going to talk about more than cold calling, right? Because cold calling in New York State, and I'm not up to date, because they keep extending this state of emergency that started during COVID. I'm not, familiar with the way New York State stuff works. I have no idea why they're doing that. I'm not sure if it's the same state of emergency from 5 years ago. I'm not sure. So I'm going to kind of, declare my ignorance on that one. I don't know if you can do any kind of calling in New York State. So that's a kind of a managing broker question, but I'm going to talk about more than cold calling. This is not the only thing, right? This is one of the scalable lead sources. It's not the only one. It's not the only one. I'll get to other ones too. Okay. Great question. I'm just not the best person to answer that one. If there's any way you can get around that state of emergency, it started 5 years ago. Holy cow. Right. So anyways, great. So I call this model shaking the tree model. Okay. The ISA is in a lead generation role. They generate leads, and then those leads get contacted by you, the agent. All right. That's an important distinction because a lot of people assume that when an ISA does prospecting and cold calling for you, they're an appointment setting role. They're just going to book a bunch of appointments for you, and you're going to go on a bunch of listing appointments right off the bat. And that's usually not the case, even if they're calling expired or FISBO. Why is that? Because the ISA, to be very honest with you guys, whether you're hiring someone in-house that's new to real estate or hiring someone outsourcing this to the Philippines or Mexico or wherever, they're probably not going to be as skilled or as knowledgeable as you are as the agent. Okay. You're the boss. The ISA can be really good at making calls, qualifying these sellers for motivation. And then the next thing they should do immediately is hand them off to you. So you can have an interesting, nuanced, knowledgeable conversation with these sellers and consult with them and tell them what they should do next. Okay. That's what they should do. They are in a lead generation role and you are in a lead conversion role. Okay. And you help convert those leads, book the appointment and get the deal done. Get the deal closed, right? That is, and I want to be really clear with you guys. That's not just the most successful model I've seen. It is the only successful model I've seen if you want an ISA to help you with cold calling. Okay. Because a lot of folks, no, I want the ISA to do everything, Gus. It doesn't work that way. I wish it did. That would be amazing, right? If the ISA could just do the whole process and just book a bunch of listing appointments for you off the bat. That usually never works. Okay. And 99.9% of the time. I've maybe seen it work a couple of times. Home runs, right? Yeah, I wouldn't bet on a home run. I want scalable results. Scalable is this shaking the tree model. ISA generates leads, you call them. Perfect, great. And here's some examples. I'll talk more about these. Expired, canceled, withdrawns. I throw them in the same bucket. For sell by owner, circle prospect, absentee. I'll go into more detail on scripting and conversion further in the presentation. Okay, next bucket. This is the second bucket. Third bucket. Oh, here's some examples, right? This is Wyatt out of Southern California. He's using. I just dropped these case studies over the last 30 days. Wyatt. This is Tori Drake out of Denver, Colorado. Also has a multi-person ISA team making calls for him. He mostly does. So Wyatt does only Circle Prospect. Tori does expired and Circle Prospect. This is Marlene Cedeno. She works in the most expensive market in America, which is the state of Hawaii, right? So, she works in Hawaii and she has, I think, a 4 or 5 person ISA team with us right now. And all they do is Circle Prospect. That's all they do. And it is the most cost-effective way to generate seller leads in Hawaii, which is the most expensive market in America. I think it's kind of crazy. So, and she's closed 26 deals from that, just from Circle Prospect over the last year. So pretty crazy. Anyways, next bucket, internet leads. Okay. This is the most scalable lead source of all. This is the most scalable lead source known to man. Why? Because if you put more money, you get more leads. Pretty, they don't always cost the same. I want to be honest. I want to be transparent with you guys. But if you spend more money on these platforms, they're going to give you more leads. Okay. That's basically how it works. And there's other limitations for sure, but it is the most scalable of the 3 I talked about. I talked about personal database. There's one pillar. prospecting, cold calling is the second pillar. Third one is internet leads. This is why the most mega teams, the largest teams in the country, a good chunk of their business comes from online leads, internet leads, purchased leads, bought leads, because it is so scalable. They can grow to a high level. And those teams, what they have to get really good at, since they can grow the lead flow pretty aggressively, they have to get really good at conversion, like really good, right? Otherwise, internet leads are an excellent way to lose money, which is what most agents do. They lose money with internet leads. Most agents are great at that, right? I mean, I've been there. I signed up for Zillow. I mean, this is not a knock on Zillow. This is a knock on me. Within my first year in the business, I didn't know what I was doing. Okay. I signed up for a really expensive lead source that I had no idea how to convert, and I lost a lot of money. Okay. But that doesn't mean it's not scalable. Okay. Can be very, very scalable. And this part, right? The ISA is not an lead generation role. Okay. You're paying Zillow and Google and Facebook to generate leads for you. All right. You're paying them. They generate the leads for you. The ISA is solely in a lead conversion role. Okay. Their job is to make the calls, respond right away, get the conversation going, qualify those leads, right? And get them talking to you as fast as possible. And once that's done, follow up with them, because there's a myth that a lot of these leads are going to convert within 90 days. Most, like I'm going to take as an example, Google pay-per-click. The average time a Google pay-per-click lead takes to close is 18 months, okay? Which means your ROI in the first year for Google pay-per-click is relatively low. Second year ROI for Google pay-per-click is massive, because a lot of leads are going to be closing from the first year over to the second. But most agents never make it to the second year. That's the challenge, right? Because their conversion game is not on point. But this is how this works. Google pay-per-click, Facebook ads fall into this. Zillow, Realtor.com portals, all that fun stuff, right? So I'll talk more about this further on, but those are the three buckets. Before you hire an ISA, you should be asking yourself, right? Oh, and here's some examples, people that are converting online leads. Tatiana Landano, she was on TV as a real estate agent. I forget which reality show she was on, but she's very popular. She got this from Facebook ads, like a huge Facebook ads person. This is Llewellyn, also Facebook ads. He was getting 45 appointments a week. Massive company, massive team. So pretty wild. And here another one. Lead cost cut in half. Pretty great one. Here's some other examples of people just getting great results from internet leads, right? So this is Luke. Also huge results from this is Facebook as well. Facebook ads, 100%. So, all right. The question you should be asking from these three lead sources that I just mentioned: personal database, SOI, cold calling, prospecting, internet leads, is which ones can you close effectively? Okay. Which ones do you feel the most comfortable with? Not just because Gus said this lead source is great, you should go all in on it and hire an ISA. You should figure out which one is best for you as a real estate agent. Okay. Not enough people ask that question. Okay. We got a question from Matt. Going back to cold calling, who's training the ISA on how to make the call? Do we provide a script? Do we already have one that is provided to convert? So, Matt, I'm assuming you're asking about Power ISA, right? So, when you work with Power, well, if you're not working with Power ISA, the answer is you, right? You're training everything, right? 100%. If you're talking about working with a company like Power ISA, you're hiring someone to help you hire, train, and manage the person, right? So 100%, we're helping you train them, like in every aspect. When their ISA coach is helping them like set up their dialer and their CRM and their systems. So you get a lot of help if you're hiring a company to do that for you. If you don't hire a company, it's you, 100%. Easy answer, right? So, and we provide scripts, but here's an important piece, right? This is what this question is about. If you're going to hire an ISA to help you convert a lead source you've never called on your own, that's really hard to make successful. I'll be super honest with you guys, right? You guys are here for the truth, right? 100%. I'm being fully transparent with you. If you want to have an ISA, you want to hire an ISA to cold call for you, and you've never closed deals from cold calling, you have a very low chance of success. You want to hire an ISA to help you with a lead source you can close, you're comfortable with. It's a proven method for you, because an ISA helps you scale up and grow, right? And again, I'm not saying that an ISA can't come in and help you develop a brand new lead source. That's doable. It just takes way more time, right? That's the only difference. And a lot of agents, they want to see results fast. They want to see, results within 90 days, right? Like that. They want tangible booked appointments, signed listings, signed buyers. They want that to happen. And that can happen only if you're scaling up a lead source that can work, because you've closed Facebook deals in the past. You've closed Zillow leads in the past. You've closed Circle Prospecting expired FSBO leads in the past. You just want to scale it up. You want leverage, okay? You want to scale up. That's how you can double your business. You take a proven lead source and you add leverage to it. And ISA is the best fit for outbound prospecting, inbound internet leads, okay? Which one can you close? That's the right question you should ask. All right. So let's get specific now, okay? On both of these examples. We're not only going to talk about these two buckets, prospecting and internet leads. When you're talking about prospecting, right? The best way to get expired FSBO Circle Prospect are these lead sources. RedX. RedX is also an LCA sponsor, by the way, right? So I'm sure there must be some great, LCA link somewhere to give you guys a really good deal on that. So that's a great one. Vulcan 7, another very popular, very, very great lead source for expired listings. Share Group specifically, the best results we've gotten with my company is through absentee owners. So if you guys are interested in absentee owners, or you're in an area with a lot of absentee owners, the Share Group is great. If you don't know if you have a lot of absentee owners, sign up on the Share Group, and for free, they'll show you how many absentee owners are in your zip code or in your city, right? You can actually see. And if it's a couple hundred, don't do it. If it's a couple thousand, okay, that makes a lot more sense. If it's tens of thousands, well, even better. Okay, you can actually check this out for free on the Share Group website. I think it's pretty cool. And here's a nugget. Here's a pro tip. This is a pro tip. If you have your own VA, your own assistant, skip tracing, it's like matching names to numbers, then that can be a great way to get numbers for calling, right? Having your own assistant. If an expired listing comes out, they're going to look up the owner and they're going to look up their contact information. Okay. That's another great way to do it. Not everyone has that opportunity, that possibility. I get it. But if you're able to, hiring someone to skip trace the lists for you is a great hack. And we've seen people get great results, because here's the truth about it, folks. RedX, Vulcan, they don't always get all the information for everyone. Okay. Sometimes that information is harder to get. Sometimes multiple people have lived at that property and they're not sure which one is the current owner, right? I mean, there's a lot of reasons the data can be imprecise, can be incorrect, or out of date, okay? And if you have your own VA skip tracing, you can actually find that a lot more effectively, okay? So that's one option for you guys. Cool. Internet leads. So this might not be what you want to hear, but this is the truth. The highest converting lead source that we see is Zillow. People, I'm not saying, I'm not a Zillow advocate here. I'm also not going to trash Zillow. I'm just giving you the facts, okay? Highest converting, especially on Zillow Flex, right? So, and I hate saying that, because Zillow Flex, you can't buy into Zillow Flex. It's invite only, and it's in specific markets. So, but it is what it is. If you're on a team with Zillow Flex, congratulations. Highest converting lead source we see, kind of year in and year out, right? So a Zillow Premier is up there as well, 100%. HomeLight, another very popular, very high converting lead source. HomeLight, this is I think it's pay it close model, so similar to Zillow Flex. Also, you gotta qualify to enter. They're not going to just take anybody. Because, like I said, pay it close lead sources are usually I'll say this, the good ones are invite only. Okay. But let's say you can't do Zillow Flex or HomeLight, right? I guess it's not available in my area. What do I do? Google pay-per-click, Facebook lead forms. Okay. Those are going to be, that's the bread and butter. 90% of what we do is Google pay-per-click and Facebook lead forms, because of the limitations that Zillow and HomeLight have, right? That's just where it's at. If you want to find a way to scale your lead generation, it's going to be through Google pay-per-click and Facebook. That is the best way to do it, right? So those are currently the best lead sources we see to scale up with ISAs. I see it. When you're talking about dialers, very common question. Gus, what's the best dialer? So single line dialers. So if you're talking about cold calling, single line dialers from RedX and from Vulcan 7 are your best bet. If you're going to be doing something like Circle Prospect, Mojo is the best option out there. We're also seeing a really popular dialer, Enzo dialer. These are multi-line, like power dialers. Okay. If you're doing Circle Prospect, these make a lot of sense. If you're not doing Circle Prospecting, don't worry about it. You don't even need these at all. Okay. If you're doing, I didn't add a section here, but if you're doing internet leads, just use your CRM dialer, right? That's what it's built for. If you're doing internet lead conversion, just use whatever the CRM uses, whether that's Follow Up Boss or Lofty or whatever. Use the built-in internet dialer. That's usually all that you need. Okay. Let's keep going, guys. We're almost out of time. We're about 2/3 in. We have about 15 minutes left. I'm gonna power through these next few slides. All right. ISA scripting. Okay. ISA scripting. When we're talking about prospecting, like I said, shake the tree. Shake the tree. The ISA is in a lead generation role. The ISA's job is to generate qualified seller leads. What does that mean? Their main goal when talking to an expired, canceled, circle prospect, absentee, the main goal is to just ask the question: are they the owner of the home? Yes, no, right? Is there any desire to sell the home? Have they ever thought about that? Would they consider an offer from a qualified buyer? Okay. And there's like 5 different ways to ask that question, but they all have to ask that question. Would they be interested in selling? And there's a lot of ways to ask that question. Like you can use the Brandon Morenin kind of reverse psychology, right? You can actually ask it this way, saying, hey, April, I saw that, you have a beautiful home. I mean, I'm going out on a limb here. I bet you'd never sell that home. This is your forever home, right, April? And that's another way to ask, would you sell your home? It's a more interesting way to ask it, right? It kind of triggers another part of your brain saying, well, I wouldn't say that, Gus. I don't think it's my forever home. Okay, well, tell me more about that. I'm curious. Why would you say that? Because this is an amazing area you live in. We just sold a property down the street. And I mean, we had so much interest in that property. What would make you say you wouldn't stay here long term? I'm just curious about that. Have a conversation, have a connection, ask them about that. Are they thinking of upsizing, downsizing, getting a second home, better school district, right? Is baby on the way, or baby or they're out of the way, they're moving out to college, want to get a smaller property, or want to move closer to them where they're going to school, whatever it is, right? Have a conversation with them. But ultimately, you want to qualify for motivation. Oh, you're thinking that this is not your forever home? Then what would be your forever home? It's not this. Okay. So we can help you make that transition. Is there any interest at all? Curiosity, questions about selling? I don't care if it's expired, canceled, circle. That's the question that ISA has to ask. And they should be asking it 30, 40, 50, 100 times a day. Okay. If they're asking that question at least 30, 50 times a day, they're going to get people telling them, yes, they are interested in selling at some point. Maybe not right now. Oh, that's perfect. Doesn't matter if it's not right now. I'm just curious about, where would you go? What's motivating you to make that move? That's really it. That is it. Okay. The only situation where this changes a little bit, the only script is for sell by owner. Okay. Because for sell by owner is a stated seller. Like they want to sell. And the window for conversion is usually the first 6 to 8 weeks. That's it. There's not really a thing. There's not a market for old FSBO leads. They're not sold. They're not bought and sold. There's a huge market for old expired leads. Okay. They get sold and resold again and again. But there's no such thing as an old FSBO because they're either going to sell or they're going to get off the market. I mean, they're going to sell or not, right? So FSBO is a little bit different. When an ISA is calling on FSBO on your behalf, they're just calling to say, hey, are you ready to get your home sold and see what April can do for you? Because we help sell blah, 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 right? I'm just curious, are you ready to look at a plan B to get an option to get your home sold? I'm just curious about the answer to that. Oh, no. Perfect. I'll be checking in every week because we keep an active off-market property list. I'll be checking in every week, see how things are going. Okay, great, bye. And call the next Monday, and the next Monday, and the next Monday, right? Until they give a different answer than no. So FSBO is a little bit different. Everyone else, you're qualifying them on, do they even have any interest in selling the home? Yes or no? That's the goal with prospecting. And for the folks that want a more detailed, scripting, I'll give you a freebie at the end of the presentation. We're almost done here. I'll give you a freebie where you can get all the scripts we're talking about, like the detailed ISA scripts. Okay. Here's a circle prospecting example. Okay. My favorite script for circle prospecting is the just sold. And if you want more detail on this, check out the last webinar we just did last month in July talking about circle prospecting. Okay. But here it is. Hey, this is Gus with ABC Realty. April, before you hang up, I just want to let you know we just sold a home on 123 Main Street. it had a lot of interest, man. We had a lot of buyers jump in and they just couldn't get it. And they were very disappointed. I'm just trying to find them a home in this area. April, do you know anyone that might be thinking of selling in the next 6 to 12 months? Can you help me out here? Well, how about yourself? Ask that question 50 times a day, and you're going to get motivated sellers raising their hand. Okay. It's not easy to do. Easier said than done, for sure. I 100%. To talk to 50 people, you might have to make 400 calls, right? You might have to make 500 calls, 600 calls to talk to 50 homeowners. It's not easy, but this works, right? 100% it works. 100%. Here we go. Next, if we're talking about scripting, ISA scripting for internet leads, right? The strategy changes a little bit, okay? This is not a cold call. This is not someone that you're calling out of the blue that has no idea what you want, no idea who you are, and no idea why you're calling. This is very different. You're calling an internet leads, and it's a step above that, right? They're asking for information. They're curious about something. Something about your ad caught their attention, okay? Whether this is a Google or a Facebook ad. If it's a Google pay-per-click ad, they were browsing properties on your website, okay? And you're calling to see if they need any help with that. It's more of a customer service angle than cold calling. And if they clicked on a Facebook ad, they probably requested a list of homes or some kind of lead magnet you offered to them. Okay. So you got to understand the scenario. How is the lead coming to your attention? If it's a Zillow.com or a Realtor.com or a portal lead, then they want information about a specific property. Okay. Whichever of those it is, the goal of the call is to add as much value as possible to what they're asking about. Okay. If they're asking about a specific property, you better know something about that property quickly, right off the bat, right? If they're asking about the lead magnet, great. If it's a list of homes, ask them what kind of home they want because you can make the list more specific. Okay. If they're browsing properties on the website and you're just trying to add some value, ask them questions that can help them find a better home. What would they change about the home they currently have? Do they know that you offer some kind of lead magnet, like a first-time home buyer guide, the 5 biggest mistakes new homeowners make, right? Or you've got some kind of neighborhood guide. Give them something valuable. When you're on the phone with an inbound internet lead, whether this is an ISA or not, your number one goal is to give them something useful, something valuable, answer the question they're not even asking, okay? Hey, what can we do about these really high interest rates? Hey, I've got a guide, my 5 tips about getting the best interest rate in this market. Or check out this case study. Our team just helped a buyer lock in a 5% interest rate last month. Would you like more? Would you like to learn more about how we did that? Okay. Because some builders are actually offering that, by the way, right? And I didn't make that up, that 5% interest rate to get their inventory off the books, right? So give them stories like that, give them case studies like that, give them resources like that, because that's going to gain trust and it's going to create some credibility in their eyes. Because everyone else is just calling them, wanting to book an appointment. That's all everyone else is saying. They're asking them some simple questions and they want to get them in the office. It doesn't work that way. Not with internet leads. Not in 2025. That doesn't work. Okay. And you want to schedule a follow-up, which can be over the phone. Okay. They can be on a FaceTime call, a Zoom call with an agent to give them more information about their pain point, whatever they need. It can be a live transfer. If there's more urgency, you can live transfer them to an agent right away as an ISA, right? Very valuable tool to have, live transfer. So live transfer is usually where people kind of mess this up, ISAs or agents, and live transfer is the easiest thing ever, right? If you're in the middle of a conversation with a lead, trying to convert them from Google or Facebook, the simplest transition is this. You're trying to get them to answer a question. They want more information. They probably want it now, right? They don't want to schedule a phone call next day, next week. Say, well, you know what? April, give me a minute so I can transfer over to my partner here and he get you started immediately on solving that question, solving that pain point you're curious about, right? And here's the most important thing about live transfer scripting. Don't ask them permission to do the live transfer. Hey, April, would you hold for 60 seconds for me to transfer this call over? Don't ask, because they're going to say no to that. They're going to say no. Exactly. They're going to say no. I don't want to wait 60 seconds. Like, hey, give me a second. I'm just going to transfer you over. When you make that direction to them, most people will just kind of, okay, sure. Right? They'll hold on for a second and get someone on the phone. And you got to transition them like that. Okay. You connect them to the ISA should connect them to the agent and do the handoff while the three of you are on the phone. They shouldn't give you the full description when they're talking. When you're doing a live transfer, it's like a three-way call. The ISA can talk to the agent first, and then they bring in the third person. Don't do that. Bring all of them in at the same time, right? Just do it fast and then do the handoff right then and there. Hey, agent, this is April. She's looking for a condo in downtown Seattle. She's looking for something 1 bedroom or a studio. Her budget is 500,000. I told them you were the best person that were going to know the best deals out there, right? So I'm going to leave you guys to it. Bye. That's the handoff. Do not hand off this full description before doing the live transfer. Hand it off during the call. Okay. Really important tip. Because live transfers are very underutilized with ISAs. I think we should use them more and more. Okay. Great. Gus, I love it. I've got the lead source. I understand which is the best one for me. I see which are the advantages of it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Great. Well, how do I fill this gap? How do I find a great ISA? Well, I mean, one option is the higher power ISA, obviously, right? But let's say if you want other options, great. There's a ton of people looking for jobs like this that are out there. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but there's a lot of them, right? You can find them through Facebook groups. Look for people that want to find remote jobs. They're living in Mexico, Latin America, the Caribbean, Philippines, millions of places. You can just find these Facebook groups, post a job ad, and you'll get many applicants for these jobs, right? Boom, 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 boom. You can run Facebook ads. That's a little bit of my opinion, a little bit of overkill because you're going to get hundreds of applicants for that, and you might not even have time to sift through everybody, right? So maybe Facebook ads might be a little bit overkill, but that's a great way. That's how we generate a lot of our candidates. So actually, by the way, we use all of these except maybe Upwork and Fiverr. We don't. Power says to use Upwork, but that's another company you can check out. TikTok. TikTok is a massive way to get people's attention. Why? Because most ISAs are in the age group where they are native to TikTok. They don't just use it, they grew up using it. Okay, so it's like I'm 44, so I'm not a exactly TikTok generation. I'm not native to the platform, so I'm always kind of like a visitor on that tool. The ISAs, the people you're hiring, they are native to TikTok. That's the first place they go to, right? That's where they spend most of their time. Maybe you guys too. I mean, I'm trying to generalize here, but if you don't use TikTok, you should, because it's a great way to find talent. And by the way, it's a great way to find buyers and sellers too. That's another LCA webinar, on TikTok. But there's a lot of attention right now on tools like TikTok. So check it out. And there's a lot of good dialogue and back and forth and DMs and comments. So you can use that, right? Search for people that are searching for jobs, post your own job video, right? But the really simple way to use TikTok is to look for people that are posting about remote work and just slide into those comments and find people that are interested. They're already raising their hand. That's what we do. And we find influencers that are talking about remote work. There's a gazillion comments, and we just tell them, hey, we're an option for remote work. If you want a job, message us, right? Easy peasy. You don't have to create a huge account with 1 million followers. You can leverage other people's accounts that have 1 million followers and get candidates that way, right? There's always Upwork and Fiverr. The only challenge with tools like Upwork and Fiverr is that they're usually people that already have a job and they're selling their leftover hours, okay? Very challenging to find a full-time person on Upwork or Fiverr. It's harder. And there's no guarantee they're not going to go be taken in by somebody else on another project. That's the only, you gotta have to go into it with that knowledge. If you want someone for a limited amount of hours, for example, when people come to us and they want to hire someone for 10 hours a week or 15 hours a week, our minimum is 20 hours. Okay. So might not be a good option for them. Upwork or Fiverr might be a good option for them because people are selling their extra 10, 15 hours on Upwork. Great. If you can connect with them, that's awesome. But if you want someone 20 or 40 hours, it might be more challenging for that tool. But if maybe don't worry about it. Work with Power ISA, problem solve, right? So there you go. All right, folks. Okay, here's the last one. So this is a whole other this topic of how to manage and onboard your ISA is a whole other webinar. But I'm going to do my best to summarize it in about a minute because we have 1 minute left on why this is so important. Okay, when you make a great hire, when you hire a really talented person, they want to be taken through a solid onboarding and training process. Okay. The first 30 days they're with you are the most important 30 days they're going to be with you. Okay. No other period is going to be more important than this. This is the moment where you want to look for red flags. Are they showing up on time every day? The first week, are they showing up every single day? Are they on time? Are they logging off on time? Are they doing the activities you asked them to do every single day that first week? Because if the answer is no, it's only going to get worse from there. That's all I can tell you. It's all downhill. People are usually on their best behavior the first few weeks. If that's not meeting your bar, this is not the right person for the job, right? 100%. Don't be afraid to let someone go. Guys, it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 hires to get one amazing person, okay? And that's not just ISA, by the way. That's my opinion. In every part of my business, as an agent, when I was hiring agents, transaction coordinators, assistants, that was usually always true. You had to go through a couple candidates, 2, 3, 4, to find one really good person. You can hire a mediocre person quickly. Like if that's that's the bar. You want to hire a great person, it takes a few tries, okay? Especially if it's the first time you're doing it. Might be an iterative process. That's part of the process. There's nothing wrong with that. That is the process. It's not a failure. It's the process, okay? Daily accountability at first. This is what people struggle with. This is why companies like Power ISA exist, because this is hard, right? But daily accountability. At the beginning, it's daily. Once they've proven themselves and they're 6 months in, you can move to like weekly accountability. Okay. But at the beginning, every single day, you're checking their numbers from the day before. You're listening to the longest calls for the day before. Or if they're converting leads, great. You're listening to the conversions for that day. Every day. Yes, that's an hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours a day, right? But that's not going to go on forever. It's those first 30 days, maybe those first 60 days. That's it. Okay. And then you can start letting go, taking your foot off the accelerator. Inspect what you expect. There's no other way to do it, folks. I wish there was some kind of, magic pill. Oh, Gus, if I hire someone that's super experienced, I don't have to train them, right? Even super experienced people go through this process. They have to. Because just because another agent trained them doesn't mean they're any good at what they're doing. I'll just be super honest with you guys. Just because they work for another real estate team does not mean they know what they're doing. Or they're going to do it the way you want. Okay? So in my opinion, having an experienced real estate experience ISA, that can be helpful in some aspects. You still have to go through this process even more intensively because you have to unlearn some bad behaviors. That's also possible too, guys. Also possible. So no, hiring a quote unquote experienced ISA does not save you from this process. This is what you got to go through. All right. Cool, folks. That is it. Thanks, everybody. You made it to the end of we're only a couple minutes over. So, my bad. Special offer, like we've been posting around 50% off. If you mention this webinar, check it out, powerisa.com/LCA. And if you want a copy of this slide deck and several of the ISA calling scripts I mentioned, like the detailed script, shoot me an email, info@powerisa.com. Include in the subject line 2X ISA, 2X space ISA. Put that in the subject line, and you'll get a response with the slide deck, the deck we used today, and a link to download those scripts. Okay, because we don't have enough time to go through every script in detail. You guys can check them out at your own time by sending us an email. All right, info@powerisa.com. And that's what we got for today, folks. Thank you so much.